Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast with me, your host, Dana. Today on our Monday Reality Roundup, we are talking about Teen Mom, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, The Valley, Perfect Match, Love Island, and honestly, Cavallari. Let's get into it. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I actually had a pretty good weekend because I really just tried to relax, which I feel like I haven't done in a while. I feel like I've been putting a lot of work into this podcast and content creating, which I love, obviously, but I really have started to feel a little bit burnt out, especially given how much my job has been taking up a lot of time and I've been having to do a lot of overtime there as well. So I really just took the opportunity to just, pretty much relax. So I apologize that there was no mini recaps on Saturday, but there was still lots of great content. So last Monday, instead of Reality Roundup, I had an interview with Michelle Barone and Helen Hoy from Below Deck. They were charter guests. That was such a fun, crazy interview. Thank you to everyone who listened and recapped and everyone who reached out about it. It was really, really cool to have them on, especially because I'm not a Below Deck watcher. But then I watched their series of episodes because they were charter guests, and I was like, oh my God, this is wild. This entire series of events with their friend Kelly was absolutely crazy. Oh, and my mistake, I made a mistake in the episode in the opener. I said that Kelly was like running amok and saying crazy shits like I'm a Democrat. She was saying that the crew were Democrats. So my mistake, I'm issuing a retraction. My apologies. She was screaming, "You're Democrats. I hate everyone." It was such a crazy situation. And then Helen was accused of, I guess, slipping Kyle's dick into her. Kyle, who was on the crew, who said this literally on camera. So Helen spoke to that on my podcast. So that was really crazy. And then I have just gotten into McBee Dynasty. I am obsessed with it. It's like Bravo's newest show for boys, I guess. I was just like, okay, the Valley's done. What am I going to watch? What am I going to do for Patreon? And then I just fell in love with this show. So it's like about a bunch of farmer guys who are all part of the same family, the McBee family, and they run this cattle ranching farm, and they all have girlfriends that all look the same, bleach blonde hair. They get in fights with each other. The guys get in fights with each other. It's also sort of like Succession because they're all trying to be the one who can run the farm the best, but they're also going through all of this financial stuff. They're being investigated by the FBI. So it's definitely really interesting. So if you want to check out my recap on that, go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I did a 90-minute recap over there of episodes 1 to 8 of season 2 of McBee Dynasty, because season 1 was on Peacock, season 2 is on Bravo. So I started with season 2, but I actually just went back and watched season 1. It's really, really good. It's I don't know, such a wild show. And also on the Patreon, I'm covering Love Island Beyond the Villa. So if you have the time, if you have the money, if you have the chance, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast. $5 a month gets you 4 extra podcast episodes a month. It gets you all the regular episodes ad-free, and it gets you all the regular episodes early. And I have just introduced a new $10 tier for, those people who have the opportunity to splurge. This tier will get you everything you get in the $5 tier. Plus, you will get 1 documentary from me a month, meaning I'm going to watch a documentary, recap it, talk about it, in addition to the 4 extra podcast episodes you get on the regular tier, in addition to the ad-free episodes, in addition to the early episodes, and you will also get a shout out on the pod. That is also part of the $10 tier. So hang out with us on the Patreon. We're having a great time. It's super, super fun. But let's get into our reality roundup for the day, because I feel like we haven't done one in a while. Last week we had the Below Deck stuff. This week we really got to get back into what's going on all of our favorite shows. And today we're going to start with Teen Mom, which I feel like I haven't talked about in a while because, I don't know, I guess the girls have been keeping it classy. Janelle Evans, she's just, she never ceases to be newsworthy, I guess. We talked about Janelle Evans before. She's from Teen Mom. She had such a shitty situation being a teen where her mom ended up taking over custody of her son Jace, because back when Janelle was 16, she was still drinking and going out and partying at night, and her mom didn't feel like she could handle it. And then she spent like several years trying to regain custody of her son, Jace, which she eventually did. And she also ended up dating like a plethora of awful men, including David Eason, who she recently divorced. But things with Jace have been really weird. And I have talked to you guys about this before. We've heard about him running away multiple times. Then we heard that Janelle says that he has like this defiant disorder and that they've actually tried everything for him. Then she sent him to live with his dad in Florida, who he has no relationship with, who he's never really known or met. But of course, that didn't work out, obviously. So I think the last we heard was that Jace was back with Janelle. And then this past week, all of these text messages between them came out where Jace was like, fuck it. I got in this fight with my mom. I'm going to release all our text messages. So it was pretty nuts. We have them saying, I guess this is Jace. No, I guess this is Jace saying, I don't care about Kaiser and Ensley. I care about my health and my living situation. I don't need you. Don't need me. I don't understand why you're doing this just because I'm telling the truth. You're crazy. And then Janelle says, you're the one saying you're going to have my custody taken. Fuck you. And then it says, just the way you lied about David strangling you, you make things worse on yourself. And then Jay says, I never lied. He tried to do it. And then Janelle says, I was standing right there. I have the Ring camera videos. And Jay says, okay, nice. Yeah, you were standing there and yelling in my face, cussing me out, just watching things happen. And she said, but go ahead and test me. You keep making things up. I'll make one phone call. And oh my God, this is just so insane. And I don't know. And then Janelle goes ahead and posts her Instagram stories. But of course, she does it with like clouds and like pink lighting in the background to make it seem like that she actually cares about her kids. And she writes, my children are my whole world, and everything I do is to try and protect them, guide and love them like any parent. I'd set rules and boundaries, and sometimes that isn't easy. Jay's posting our private texts was his reaction to being rightfully disciplined. And while it hurts to see those moments shared publicly, I know it comes from a place of struggle. Navigating Jace's different medical diagnoses has not been easy, but I have never stopped fighting to make sure he has resources, love, and support he needs. I will always stand by him no matter what challenges come our way. I will continue to work on being the best mom I can to be to all my 3 kids. I ask for empathy, kindness, and prayers during this time, not just for me, but for Jace, our family, as we work together through this. Then she also says, recently he has also been in trouble with the law these past few months and is having a hard time adjusting to the rules set before him. I've been trying everything to help him navigate it, but we are butting heads in the process. Please give us grace during all of this time. This is a hard time on us all. So a website called the Ashley, which is a website that does usually contain a lot of pretty good information on teen mom, says that basically we got some more information here. They say that Jace Evans is once again on the move. The son of Janelle Evans is no longer living at the fired Teen Mom Stars of Las Vegas home, following an incident in which Jace leaked private text conversations between him and his mother that showed Janelle in a very unflattering light. TMZ broke the news on Wednesday, and the Ashley can confirm that Jace has been once again shipped off to North Carolina. Although whoever leaked the story to TMZ told the site that Janelle allowed her son to go back to his home state because she thinks it's for the best, even though the Ashley's source knows this is not exactly what happened. Sources tell the Ashley that Jace was on a plane within hours of him leaking the text messages on social media on Tuesday. Janelle told him basically she's done with him and that she wants nothing to do with him, the source said. As the Ashley previously reported, the text showed Janelle telling her 16-year-old son, fuck you, and calling him a liar, which I just read to you guys now. The person who leaked the story to TMZ painted a picture in Janelle's favor and told the site that Jace's motive was mainly because he's currently on probation. But the Ashley source says that wasn't the reason Jace was sent away. The source did not confirm that Jace is on probation. However, it was okayed for him to leave the state. A judge will need to approve having the probation officially transferred to North Carolina. TMZ reports that Jace will have to take anger management courses as part of his probation requirements. As the Ashley reported, Jace called CPS on his mother for frequently leaving him and to watch his younger siblings, Kaiser and Ensley, while she partied hard nearly every night on the Las Vegas Strip with her pal. After CPS was contacted and didn't do anything, Janelle was pissed, and that's when she cussed him out and told Jace he's basically no longer her son, the source said, adding that Jace posted the text online to show who my mother really is. Soon after Jace was on a plane, she was done and wanted him to go back to North Carolina, the source said. As Teen Mom fans know, Janelle's mother, Barbara, who raised Jace for the majority of his life, lives in North Carolina. Not only that, but his father, Andrew Lewis, recently moved back to the same state where most of Andrew's extended family resides, so Jace has plenty of family and friends there. Jace did not want to go back to Vegas, the source said. He has never been happy there. And when Tori moved in earlier this month, things got even worse for Jace. Tori is a friend of Janelle's who's been in her life for a really long time. The Ashley is not revealing where Jace is currently staying in North Carolina, but according to her source, he is safe and very happy there. They're hoping him living there will be made permanent. The Ashley is not sure how custody/child support will work now that Jace is living in North Carolina. And then Jace ended up responding to some of Janelle's posts. He wrote on TikTok, crazy how my mom blocked me, but I'm doing a lot better. Just an FYI, down back in NC, but I just don't understand why my mom keeps putting up with all this BS. She needs to let everything go. She shut my phone off because she's mad, but she keeps posting stupid stuff about tabloids. I don't give a fuck about this. Nobody in my family is doing that. So think what you want to think, but the truth is the truth. You're never going to like it. It sucks to hear, but like I said, the truth is the truth. She just needs to stop posting all this stuff. It's over. I'm back in NC, and she's scared for her own loss. It's just so disappointing that, I mean, there's teen moms like who I'm trying to think of a good one, like Chelsea DeBoer, who turned out great, like she ended up meeting a great guy and having a beautiful family. And I remember her back in the day saying things like, are things ever going to work out for me? Am I ever going to meet someone that's right for me? Am I ever going to have a normal life? If you go back and watch, and then you like tear up seeing how much she does end up having the most beautiful normal life. Well, Janelle, I mean, it's just disaster after disaster after disaster, year after year. Nothing changes. She makes the same mistakes over and over again. But now it's affecting her children in such a major way. Like back when we were watching this show, when these kids were young, I guess I wasn't thinking a lot about how it would affect them, or sort of assumed that their parents would get it together by the time their kids were old enough to have an understanding of what was going on. But look at this now. Like Jace is 16 years old. He's going through such a contentious situation with his mom. He's also going through stuff with like the courts and the police, just like Janelle did, right? It's just like such an unfortunate continuation of a pattern based on your upbringing, right? So she had this crazy upbringing. She and her mom had such blowout fights in front of Jace. Janelle had like a myriad of like shitty guys in her life. And now it just looks like that is all transferred onto Jace and has affected him in such a major way. I mean, you see him as a kid basically sitting there silently, looking as if almost like he's blocking things out that are happening. But now that he's 16, of course it's fucked him up. Of course he's fucked up. And I'm not even like blaming him for it at all. I'm blaming Janelle. Like, it's just really sad that she just never got it together. She's like, what, 30 now, and she's still out partying and not taking care of her kids. And it's just sad. It's just sad. I hope Jace does have good family in North Carolina, whoever that is. It's just really sad that this pattern has continued throughout Jace's whole life. And this is going to be the same thing for Kaiser, for Ensley, for all of Janelle's other children. And while there was a period of time where I was feeling really bad for her, I'm like, give her custody of her kid back. This is insane. She's an adult now. She's taking care of her other kids just fine. I regret that, because obviously she isn't capable of taking care of her kids on her own, because she clearly isn't doing that. And if Jace does have all of these issues, I think that maybe she needs to be doing more to try to protect him. I mean, like, if he has mental health issues, if he has legal issues, like, step it up. Like, partying in Vegas and not being around with him is not helping the situation, I figure. Anyways, that's Janelle. Well, let's move on to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And of course, we're talking about Denise and Aaron, because we're going to be talking about Denise and Aaron for a while. Like, this divorce, as I've mentioned, pretty much every week. Yeah, I feel like we're going to be talking about this every week. Their divorce is super contentious, will continue to be. So as you guys may recall, Aaron, her ex-husband, or soon to be, him and his family were like living in one of Denise's townhomes. I don't really know why. So apparently she had a whole bunch of homes. His family was living in one of those homes. The last we heard, he had like put down one of her dogs. So she tried to show up at the house to confront him or get the dogs or something like that. And then he had accused her of trespassing. So now she is trying to get him evicted from the house. So here's an article from, I don't know where this article is from, my bad. But I'm going to read you guys an article. It says that Denise Richards filed a request to remove her estranged husband, Aaron Phypers, from their Los Angeles rental home after learning the latter received an eviction notice for unpaid rent. According to court documents obtained by Page Six, the TV personality asked the court to require the businessman, his parents, and brother to vacate the Calabasas property so she could collect her items, including her dogs, without breaking the set temporarily. Oh, the temporary restraining order, without breaking the set temporary restraining order. While she and Phypers, who called it quits in July, are listed on the lease, Richards claimed she moved out 2 years ago under the impression her ex's family would live there temporarily. According to the documents, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum, 54, allegedly informed Phypers, 52, that he would be in charge of the rent starting in January while his family still lived in the home and refused to leave. She alleged that Phypers mentioned his family leaving the property several times and moving back to Canada. Hey, shout out Canada. The filing states that the ex's landlords had allegedly been trying to contact Phypers about unpaid rent for the past 6 months, but has been unable to get a hold of him. As a result, the landlord allegedly moved to evict Phypers from the property and demand to be vacated by August 23rd. Richards claims in the filing that she left many of her personal items and her late mother's items at the house, adding, "If I'm not able to retrieve my dogs and belongings, I believe my dogs will be harmed and my property destroyed or discarded during the eviction process." Richards alleged that Phypers and his family have severely damaged the house, describing the conditions of being in a state of disarray. She attached photos of unopened boxes, clothes, trash, and papers tossed around the home and flooring removed. "I was shocked at the condition of the home, having not lived there for over 2 years," the Denise Richards and her Wild Things alum stated. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was really awesome of her to be giving his parents and brother a home. I'm not really sure why. But yeah, they should get the fuck out. If he's not paying rent, I mean, this entire situation is so incredibly insane. She has things there, yet he won't let her come there. This isn't even his house. He's not paying rent. And yeah, he should be fucking evicted. So this is like, I don't know. This guy is just such a sketchy individual. I don't understand how he ended up even getting that business, Quantum 360, which he no longer has because he's being sued for that. Now he's just like trying to live rent free for him and his family. It's absolutely insane. And then I actually heard some other information about how we were curious about Denise's daughter, Eloise. So Eloise is the daughter that she adopted on her own. And we had heard years ago that Aaron had adopted her or that he was going to adopt her. But when they filed this divorce paperwork, it said they had no minor children together. So I was like, oh, did he never adopt her? I'm not really sure what's going on here. So this article came out from People saying that Denise Richards failed to file the adoption paperwork that Aaron signed for daughter Eloise, 14, because of course, if she comes out at him in the media, he has to fire back. So she's trying to evict him. So now he's coming back with this. So this is what I've heard, that Aaron Phypers is claiming his adoption of ex Denise Richards' 14-year-old daughter Eloise was never made official. In court documents filed on August 20th and obtained by People, Phypers claimed family harm and claims Richards had him sign adoption papers for Eloise, his daughter, by bond of over 9 years, but failed to file them. Now, okay, listen, Tom Schwartz forgot to file his marriage paperwork and lost the paperwork. So it's not crazy. Also, Denise has a lot on her plate, right? She has 3 kids. She's got a crazy husband. She has businesses. She has a lot of stuff. Is it possible that she failed to file the paperwork to make it official? Maybe. But Aaron, if it was so important to you, why didn't you remind her, or why didn't you do it? Because if it was so important to you to the point where you have this bond with this daughter of yours for over 9 years, why didn't you take the initiative to do it, right? How long ago was this even? Because I recall it being years ago. So if Denise failed to file it properly years ago, yeah, Aaron, I mean, that's kind of on you. It's like you're mad that the adoption that you wanted didn't go through because your wife was too lazy to do it. Then you follow up with her and make sure that she does it. I don't know. The shit that he tries to come back at her with is absolutely asinine and hilarious. This divorce, like I said, is going to go on and on and on. They're both going to be firing back at each other in the media, back and forth. But her reads are good and his reads are bad. Just saying. All right, let's move on to Vanderpump Rules / The Valley. And something that I thought was really interesting that we heard about Jax in the last part of the Valley reunion, or sorry, we even heard it in the finale, I guess, from Danny, saying that Jax was sleeping with his employees at Jax's Bar and Grill, or whatever you want to call it, the place that he is no longer affiliated with. Now, what I thought was so interesting about that is that no women seem to come forward about this. Not even just about this, but about sleeping with Jax in general, because when Jax and Brittany first broke up, there was girls coming out the wazoo, messaging Brittany, coming out online, talking about their experiences. But ever since Jax has been like pretty much effectively canceled, like he's no longer on TV, his tour's been canceled, nobody really wants anything to do with him. He no longer is affiliated with the bar. You sort of think like, well, maybe, like obviously he's still sleeping with women. Like that's a given. But why aren't these people coming forward? Well, because it's fucking embarrassing. It's like if you think about the whole idea of why Schwartz and Sandy's didn't work out, it was because they attached their namesake to it. And the names Schwartz and Sandy became synonymous with like douchebags and losers. And the same thing here. Name the bar Jax's. Well, nobody likes Jax anymore, so nobody's going to want to go to a bar named Jax's, which is why they effectively had to cut his name off of it. And same with sleeping with Jax. It's not cool, right? Like nobody now wants to come forward and say that. It sort of reminds me of like the Jax t-shirt that I have. It's like a t-shirt of him like all coked out in like the Andy Warhol style. I think he's in Hawaii when that picture of him was taken. And it's honestly, it's one of my favorite shirts. To be honest with you, it's comfortable, it's loose, it fits nice, but I can't wear it again. Like I can't wear it again because it's embarrassing. It sends a message. It says a lot of stuff, right? So I think that's why people never really came forward about sleeping with Jax, despite the fact that they probably are sleeping with him. That being said, women have finally started to come forward. Why? I do not know. But there was this article that came out recently that says, work in progress, Jax Taylor love bombed, had sex with, then discarded several female employees at his LA bar before he was fired. So it says that this is from the Sun, the US Sun. So take it with the grain of salt that you will, but I think that's because the only people that would even want this story are the Sun. I don't even think Us Weekly or people even want the story from these women because even they know that Jax is so canceled that the public doesn't even want to know about this, but I'm letting you guys know anyways. So employees allege that Jax used his power and charm to manipulate them while keeping everything a secret. One employee claimed, I thought I was the only one he slept with from work, but after everything ended, I found out he told us the same things and used the same tricks on all of us. He would make me believe he would never risk breaking the rules for anyone else but me. What rules? Like sleeping with someone at work? I mean, like, but girl, sorry. Have you met Jax Taylor? Okay. Anyways, the article goes on to say multiple women also allege that Jax did not use protection, but offered to buy Plan B afterwards. Okay. First of all, by the way, that is like a classic Jax thing. Jax does not use protection. Okay. He never has. I've been doing a ton of research on this all the way back to season 1. Jax has never used protection. So again, why are you girls doing this? I have to question these women a bit as well. Sorry, it goes on. Another woman who said he DM'd her on Instagram recalled he was extremely sexual right from the first few minutes of conversation. He made plans instantly, talked about our future. We would text all day long, and he was immediately so vulnerable and open with me. He'd say the kindest things and love bomb me day in and day out. But she learned later she wasn't the only one. He tells every woman he's with that she's the only one he's sleeping with, but it's always a lie. He always has a roster of women. He has a system he's perfected like clockwork over the years to distract from the fact that he's a liar. Several women described receiving identical texts, gifts, and even Jax's bar merch, which he allegedly asked them to send sexier pictures back in, then claimed the relationships always ended the same way, with sudden paranoia and misplaced blame. One source added, he is hiding behind his divorce being finalized to keep all of us women silent under the radar. It's manipulative and a terrible way to treat people. I mean, it is, but girls, come on. Jax Taylor has never... I mean, he is who he is, you guys. Like, he's always been a whore. He's always been someone who doesn't use condoms. He's always been a gaslighter. He's always been a love bomber. He was never going to be your boyfriend, and he was never going to be like a stand-up guy. You guys know that, right? You know that. I'm just having trouble feeling bad for these women here because I feel like there is enough evidence out there to show you exactly who this guy is. So to be shocked that he's love bombing you and gaslighting you and telling you you're the only one, LOL, duh. I don't know. Sorry. All right. Well, let's move on to Sandoval on America's Got Talent. Now, a few months back, we saw his audition tape, which was actually pretty good. I was like really impressed with Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras, which I was shocked by. I was shocked by my own reaction by that because I'm like, I thought this band sucked. Like I was pretty sure. Now, I guess that turned out to be true. And the audition tape was probably just a fluke because he ends up performing blinded by, or Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. And it was just not good. Not good. And that's basically what Simon Cowell said. He said, that did not sound good. So that sucks, Tom, right? Like, I feel like he needs to pick songs that are more maybe that work better with his voice. I think he tries to pick songs with such a high pitch that while I understand why you would pick those, you want to like show off your talent and how maybe high you can go, you can't, right? So maybe be a little more cognizant of what your talents are and how far your voice can go, right? Like, I am cognizant of the fact that I can't wear a bandage dress because that would look terrible on my body, and I'm cognizant of that. So I think it's sort of similar if you think about it, right? Like, if you know, or maybe he doesn't know, I guess that's the problem. He needs to be a little bit more realistic with his talents. You know, we all have some talents. We all are bad at some things. We're all good at some things. But I feel like with Tom, he thinks he's good at everything. And I think he just needs to be more cognizant about the things that he is good at. And I'm not saying he's even like a terrible singer, because he did have that good audition tape. So maybe he just needs to pick songs that are more aligned with his voice. Does that make sense? I don't know anything about music, but you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? Like, he just has to pick songs that work with his voice. Like, if I were to pick a song that would be sung by like Leah Michelle or like in Wicked, I couldn't, because my voice doesn't go that high. And I get, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. He needs to understand his voice doesn't go that high. Yeah. All right. Well, Brittany Cartwright, despite all the shit that she's going through with Jax, is actually dating someone new. And she actually confirmed this on her podcast this past week, When Reality Hits. So it is like official, but like it's really, really new. And she hasn't told us much yet. We've seen like little, I don't know, like some blurry pictures online, basically like a guy wearing like a white t-shirt and jeans, trim hair. She went out with him and Kristin the other night and like some other people to some event. And Kristin was actually asked about it. And she said, Brittany has someone in her life that's really amazing that I'm head over heels for. She's dated people during her single years since her ex-husband, Jax Taylor, and I've not approved of them. They've been fine, but not wonderful. This person is wonderful and very cool, very family feeling. That's good. And then Brittany says, he's a dad, so it makes it really easy. Oh, sorry. Kristin said that. A lot easier and understandable. And when asked whether she and her new man are serious, Cartwright says, we'll see. So I hope it happens for Brittany. Like, we have, like I said, heard about her dating, like, you know, the odd guy here or there, and it was nothing serious. And we don't know if this one is yet. But if he's a dad, I think that's a really good thing, because then I really feel like he'll have a better understanding of her life and her commitments and her struggles, as opposed to like, sometimes single guys just don't really understand the mom life and how the child is always going to be put first. So I'm happy for her. And I hope we actually get to see this play out on the Valley, because the Valley starts filming in like a week. So I want to see Michelle dating. I want to see Brittany dating. I wouldn't even hate seeing Lala dating. I think it would be really cool to see that aspect of the Valley, because listen, the show was designed to be about young families living in the Valley and what that life is like. But sometimes what that life is like is those marriages not working out and going through a divorce, and then trying to date again and trying to co-parent and trying to have like step parents in people's lives, right? Like, all of those things are part of the adulting experience that we all go through. And so I still feel like watching them date and going through all those trials and tribulations are very relevant to what the Valley was intended to be about. Okay, let's move on to Perfect Match. And as you guys know, the season is now over. Season 3 was pretty good. Like, I really liked episodes 1 to 6. 7 to 9 were meh. And the finale episode was okay. But I really liked the show in general. And I think it's crazy that we actually did end up having like a real couple come out of this, which is Ollie and AD, who obviously are engaged and are pregnant. And despite what we saw about Ollie in the show, where he lied to AD about kissing Justine and lied to her about cuddling with her and stuff, they seem really, really happy. So I just wanted to kind of just give like an update on where everyone is, since I didn't get to talk to you guys about the finale. But basically, Lucy and Daniel won the finale, which LOL, they're not even still together. And they were so toxic, but more so him, obviously, right? They both ended up being on the Vile Files this past week, but wouldn't do it together. I didn't end up listening to his part, only her part, and I found it a little bit boring, to be honest. She didn't have much to say, but I remember like this filmed a long time ago, like over a year ago. And a lot of these people are in like new relationships now. So it sort of seems like a moot point. But yeah, basically she realized like this wasn't really going to work afterwards. But what's funny was like the prize for Perfect Match was like a 7-day like vacation, just like a 7-day vacation, which they never ended up going on because like that's how quickly it fizzled out. Um, Sandy also went on a few podcasts, and she and Lewis are obviously no longer together. We've seen him with Huda. And Sandy's pissed about that, mostly about the fact that he like ruined the show because she feels like, you know, pretty much like the day the show came out or the day it premiered, he was seen out and about with Huda, which basically ruined how him and Sandy panned out. And so she was mad that like after all the people that put in like the time and the effort and everything with production, that he would just kind of like fuck with it like that and just be like, screw the ending, screw whatever. I get that. I do. However, LOL, because AD and Ollie. And while I understand they obviously couldn't like continue to hide that, I mean, like AD was pregnant, they did like announce their engagement. I mean, like the engagement was sort of one of their Netflix promos, right? Like she thought it was going to be a Netflix promo. She thought that they were doing a commercial. And then Ollie gets down and proposes, which obviously so beautiful and amazing, but that also ruined the show as well. So given that one couple ruined the outcome of the show or the finale because we knew they'd be together, does it really matter if another one did? And I only say that again because it happened once this season. Like if next season that doesn't happen at all, that's a different story. But because it had already happened, maybe Louis, whatever his name is, maybe he just thought like, well, fuck it. Like the finale has been ruined anyway. I don't know. Rachel and Clayton obviously didn't end up together. We talked about that. And she didn't end up with Ray either because even though I thought they were so cute, he was in New Jersey, she's in LA. They had so little time to actually get to know each other when they were actually on Perfect Match, but they're still friends. And Sandy, our Sandy gal, is dating a new guy, and I'm really happy for her. It's so interesting how this show ended up filming and airing because so she does the ultimatum with her ex Nick, and then she ends up sort of with JR as a part of that. And then they don't speak for like a certain number of months. None of this airs. Then she goes on Perfect Match. Then she's with Louis or Lewis, whatever his name is. And the way that filming ended up working out was that the ultimatum airs. Then she goes on the Vile Files with Nick to talk about their relationship. Then Perfect Match airs. She has to go back on the Vile Files and other press to talk about her relationship with Louis. All the while she had had a relationship with JR that hasn't really been talked about, like as part of like those dating experiences. I don't know. It's just funny because she's talking about Louis. Like, no, wait, she's talking about like Nick and JR basically in press while she's already dated Louis and has already started dating the new guy that she's dated now. I just think it's wild with how this ended up filming and airing that she's had to talk about things that have happened so far in the past with so many relationships that she's been passed and through. But anyways, good for Sandy. Really happy for her that she's found her happy ending. And I'm also happy for her that, and all the girls really, that they ended up finding such amazing friendships out of Perfect Match. Like, sort of who knew? Because it was such an odd myriad of people, right? They brought in people, not just Netflix, but from The Bachelor, Siesta Key, all walks of life. And the women ended up just really bonding and becoming friends. Oh, another fun fact that I guess is from Perfect Match, but I don't think I mentioned it before, was that Juliette Porter, who, I love my Juliette from Siesta Key, she was on Trading Secrets, which is Jason Tarek's podcast, the money podcast. And she gave us some interesting information about herself. So this I didn't know about her. Apparently, she was making like $60,000 a season, I guess, from Siesta Key because everyone was trying to make sure that they were all making the same amount of money for fairness. But because she narrated the show, she negotiated narration fee of $120,000 per episode, which makes her a fucking billionaire, which is crazy because if you go back and watch the show, I don't know what's true and what's not, but like she talks about not being as well off as some of the other people on the show. Obviously, people on the show like Alex Campo, whose father was the executive director of the show, he obviously was extremely, extremely wealthy. And so were a lot of other people that were on the show, like very much like very wealthy billionaires, yacht life, all that stuff. And Juliette was like, yeah, my family is not from that. But now she's a fucking billionaire and she continues to work on her brand, JMP the Label, which is her bikini brand. So I'm so impressed that she continues to work, still being a billionaire and still being a badass bitch. So I love that for her. She did say on Trading Secrets that she was filming something that she couldn't talk about, but I wonder how long ago she filmed Trading Secrets, because I don't know if she meant Perfect Match or she meant something else. But I would love to see Juliette on another show. I really, really would. Okay, let's move on to Love Island. So tonight being Monday, the 25th, there's going to be the Love Island reunion airing. So unfortunately, since I'm recording before that, we will not be including it, but I will include it later in the week. If it's super juicy, I'll make sure to drop something. If it's not that juicy, I'll throw it into Reality Roundup next Monday. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it looks like it was pretty epic. It looks like we're going to be getting all of the uncut footage from the heart rate challenge, because apparently everyone wants to see how hard Huda went on Ace. So that's kind of interesting. Nick has made some interesting statements about Sierra. So remember Sierra, who was kicked out of the villa for her racist statements, and she was with Nick before. So as you guys have probably seen, if you follow Sierra, and I kind of think I may unfollow Sierra because I'm getting so annoyed with all of her content, but she never like took a break. She never took like a minute to just like reflect in everything that happened. She just sort of went like back online, like immediately. And some of the things that she ended up doing online were talking a little bit of shit about like Nick and Alandria. Like she made comments like, oh, you know that what do you call it? That like TikTok trend, or that trend where it's like, I'm happier now. So she did one being like, you look happy, or sorry, you look happier now. So she writes like, you look happier now. And she's like, thanks. I survived the villain edit on Love Island. And it's like, girl, you weren't like the villain. Like nobody like made you a villain. You didn't get a villain edit. You did something villainous outside of the villa, right? And then she also has made comments online about how Nick never really liked her, and how he only ever wanted to be friends with her, and how he always wanted her best friend Alandria. So now he's come out and made some comments because he kind of feels like this is coming out of nowhere. And so he has said, that video was so off-putting for me, especially considering the way I spoke so positively about her and our relationship before that. I never once bashed her. I never once told her I wasn't interested in her. And this is in response to her TikTok saying, the guy who never actually liked me and wanted my friend the entire time. I mean, that is true. He hasn't said anything negative about her, right? He has been asked about her, and he was asked pretty much initially, like right after he came out of the villa, like, are you going to reach out to Sierra? Are you going to talk to Sierra? And he was like, oh, you know, that's going to take a lot of thought. I have to put a lot of thought into that. I'm not really sure. And, you know, I do feel from her perspective, like, it would have been nice if he had given her a conversation. I don't know if he owes her a conversation. They weren't in like a real relationship. It was just like a villa relationship, but maybe she feels like butthurt that they never really had a conversation. And so now she's playing like this game. I don't think it's a good game to play, girl, right? Like you were already effectively canceled, and then trying to say that these people were against you. I don't think that's really going to work either, especially because like Nick and Alandria are like beloved. Everybody fucking loves them. So it just wouldn't be in her best interest. It would not behoove her to continue to bash them, in my opinion. So Ace and Shelly are still together and are happily in love. However, they are not in an official relationship yet. Now, guys, I am so confused by how dating works these days. I really am. The first time I feel like I heard something like this was Tom Schwartz and that girl he was dating, Sophia, that really young girl, because I remember them being on the Vile Files and talking about how they loved each other, but how they weren't like officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's like, what happened to the regular steps that there used to be? Am I that old that the steps that used to exist just don't exist anymore? Like it used to be like, you tell someone you like them, you go on some dates, you date for a little, then you ask that person to become your boyfriend or girlfriend. Then that means you're in an official relationship. Then you say I love you. Like I don't know. I just used to be so different, and now it's like you could literally have a kid and be married to someone, and they could be like, whoa, 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 it's too soon to say I love you or get married. Like it's too much. Like I don't know. It just feels so weird to me to be in love, because to me that's like the ultimate commitment. It means you're really there with each other. To me, not having like the boyfriend girlfriend conversation is more about like not being ready or not knowing the person well enough yet. But to say I love you means that you do know the person very well and that you are ready. So I'm so confused by the concept of like being so far into a relationship with someone where you've said I love you, but not so far into it that you can commit to each other fully. I don't know. It's just weird to me. Good for them. I'm happy for them. I'm excited for them. But yeah, it just reminds me of like the Schwartz and Sophia thing, because even recently he has said like she was one of the greatest loves of his life, but they were never officially together. Like, what? It's just dating these days. I can't. It's so weird to me. Okay. Okay. And our last story for the day, I guess doesn't involve a specific show, but I guess we can call it The Hills / Honestly Cavallari, because we're going to be talking about Jay Cutler and Kristin Cavallari's divorce for a second, because Jay Cutler felt like he had to bring it up in the media. So there's this article that came out in E! News that I'm going to read you guys. It says, Jay Cutler is clarifying details about his divorce from Kristin Cavallari. The NFL quarterback denied his ex-wife's assertion that she has never gotten a penny from him after their breakup in 2020, calling her statement irresponsible. He said, I think it's reckless. He said during the August 14th episode of his Take It Outside podcast. He has a podcast? Really? That guy, like, he's not necessarily great with words. He definitely reminds me of like the guys from like McBee Dynasty who are just sort of like quiet, like farmer type guys. I don't know. Anyways, he says, I think it's borderline slander to insinuate that there was $0 split up during the marriage that each side got. It's insanity and completely false, completely untrue. And while the 42-year-old who shares kids Camden 13, Jackson 11, and Sailor 9 with Kristin 38 didn't break down exactly financial settlement he reached with his ex, he added, I can guarantee you it's definitely not $0. I hate that I even have to address it, honestly, he continued, but it gets to the point where it's just untrue. E! News has reached out to Kristin's rep for comments, but has not heard back. During the June 18th episode of her E! series, Honestly Cavallari, the headline tour, Kristin, whose divorce from Jay was finalized in 2022, shut down speculation that she benefited financially from her marriage. I have never gotten a penny from my ex-husband, she declared. I didn't get any money from our divorce, so let's just clear that up. The Laguna Beach alum also refuted claims that Jay was responsible for the success of her lifestyle brand, Uncommon James, which she founded in 2017. Our revenue was close to $50 million a year, she explained during the episode. But because I was a WAG, athletes' wives and girlfriends, if you're not familiar, people love to say that everything I have in my life is because of my ex-husband, and that my ex-husband funded Uncommon James. I am to this day 100% owner, she added, and I've never taken any outside funding. Okay, so I think he's just like misunderstanding the situation. When she was talking about this on her show, which I remember because, you know, I was recapping this show on the Patreon, shout out to the Patreon, she was talking more in the sense of WAGs and how everyone sort of expects that if you're married to an athlete that you don't work and you get all your money from them. What she was saying was that she built her brand on her own, didn't take any outside funding. She was a reality star in her own right, so she had her own money. And I don't think she's saying that she didn't get any dollars from the divorce whatsoever. What she's saying is she didn't get any like money from him in the divorce. Like it wasn't like one of those situations. If they split their finances during the divorce, that's one thing, but she didn't like take him for house and home. She didn't need to because she was also very well off herself. I think that's what she's saying. I don't know why he's trying to come out in the media to say this. I don't know why he feels he needs to speak to this because quite honestly, buddy, this was a while ago. I don't even remember when she said it. Nobody's talking about it, so I really wouldn't be too worried. But yeah, Jay Cutler, man, he's not who we thought he was. And what's so interesting, if you go back and watch Very Cavallari, apparently they had contention throughout all of the seasons of the show, but it's hard to tell, and you can definitely tell in like the later seasons, later episodes, especially because like the last season of the show, it was really just more about their family as opposed to like the first and second season of the show were more about like Uncommon James and the friendships. But like he is like this quiet, weird dude. You never really got a sense of like who he really was. And I never really understood their relationship because she's so like open and funny and light and bright. And he sort of always seemed to be this kind of person that would like bring her down or like take down that light. I don't know. Glad for them that they're divorced and that she's moved on. But Jay Cutler, man, nobody really cares what you have to say. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of the episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to follow me on Instagram and TikTok, you can do that at the Bravo Investigator. You can also leave me a 5-star review if you don't mind. And you know what? Check us out on the Patreon, patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast for 4 extra podcast episodes a month. Love you, BBs. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Huda Media Production.